that, I'd like to call this meeting to order. First bit of business is just to approve our minutes from last time. I'd like to make a motion to approve our minutes from May 2nd. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Aye.
So, okay. First thing, I was hoping Michael would be here for the ice glam treatment. I wanted to give some updates about that. My understanding is that it is starting tomorrow, June 7th.
Okay.
But a little bit of an update that came in today, which hopefully Michael can talk to if he's going to be here, is that the owners of the driveway, that would be the staging area, would like to talk to Ken, preferably before the treatment. And I don't think Ken's reached out to them yet. So they sent an email to Michael and Patrick asking for Ken to get in touch with him, which I really want to make sure he does. But I don't know if that's been straightened out because that was earlier this morning. So I want to recognize that they've asked for that. That was earlier in the day, but I have not seen whether they've gotten in touch with. So if Michael shows up, we can ask him about that.
And did you forward that to Ken also, or just to Michael?
I think it's all in our government email, in the town's email.
Which Ken sees?
Ken is on it, I believe, or Ken is in the email.
Okay, so he'll get it. He should get it one way or another.
Yeah. Has Ken already marked the trees? That was on one of the things that he was going to do. We assume he has done that?
I'm assuming he's done that. I mean, he marked it with that original report and he's supposed to be
prioritizing based on.
Prioritizing based on the report.
And we never heard from the Forest Service?
In which
grant?
About the grant? No.
Wow.
Not that I am aware of.
Yeah.
Mike said at the last meeting that he would send the committee, various information about the RFP, the proposal.
Right.
Whatever had been arranged. Have you gotten anything?
I have not got anything, and I asked him about that last week and got only that treatment was happening tomorrow.
Okay.
So I'd still like that information, so we can have it at least.
Because we had asked too for signage, right? Just
Yeah.
something to be posted so people walking the trail know.
To know what's happening.
Yeah.
And don't walk into that
So,
as a surprise.
yeah.
So that might be a phone call to Michael tomorrow to see if that has happened.
And did the, different topic, but did the Net Old Growth Network sign go up?
I have not checked yet. But I can ask Michael, because I know they wanted to put it on a steel plate, have it on a backing so that it wouldn't bend or be broken.
Great.
So that might have been a little bit more of fabrication that needed to happen. But I'll put that on my to-do list to call Michael if he does not arrive this evening. Okay, any other questions or things that we want to find out?
Is it just a one-day treatment?
Good question. My feeling is that it's going to be this week. So, it might be a couple days, a few days. Because I got, let me go back to. And I tried to also find out how many trees had passed away from Ken, from the original survey that he did.
Yeah.
And he hadn't had a chance to actually get a count of that for us yet. Okay. Signage for old growth. And how long?
And some kind of posting that they're
Yeah.
doing the treatment.
If they put up signage, how long will it take? Okay. Anything else on that before we move on? Any other questions? Okay. Now, moving on to our next conversation, kind of continuing our series of talking about housing. And I know I've had this on the last few agendas. I promise you we will, we'll take a break from it after this, for a minute. But I have asked, in full disclosure, a couple of my favorite employees from the farm to come and just kind of share their experience with us about finding housing coming to the Berkshires. So I'll let them introduce themselves and with their names and pronouns, and we'll have a good conversation. Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first. Hi, my name is Michelle Zhu. My pronouns are she, her. My story is, I moved to Great Barrington this past November 2021. So, but before that, I had been in Norfolk, Connecticut, which is, as you know, like still part of the Berkshires. I found that, and I was also working on a farm there while I was living in Norfolk, and I moved here to Great Barrington to relocate closer to work at Woven Roots Farm in Tyringham, Massachusetts. I guess I'll talk about Great Barrington first, but I have like a comment on Norfolk. But housing I felt was really tight. I was on Craigslist after like checking like the normal like Zillow, like Trulia, those kinds of like real estate listings. I like combed through all of the Craigslist, like like for whatever was available, like 20 pages. There was like one possible option that would have worked, and luckily it worked out for me. So I felt very fortunate to be able to move here. The house I'm living in was previously being used as an Airbnb. So I think that speaks for like what kind of housing is available. But, you know, like luckily the landlord wanted to convert it to year-round housing because the landlord wanted to be able to also enter the home freely. So yeah, I would say rent is about half my monthly income, which isn't like the best. I would say I don't feel like there's many other people living here that are in my age group or not white, and is like something that I notice. And also I feel like is a group that wouldn't necessarily find it easy to move here like me. Which, you know, I think limits employee options to like high schoolers or like people returning from college whose families are here. And I just wanted to touch on Norfolk, which I was able to live there because of a connection from like a wealthy friend of the farm who had multiple properties in the town and was able to provide me with housing, which I feel like says that if you don't have existing connections in the area where you want to move to, you're not going to be able to find housing very easily. I yield to questions.
We'll let Aviva take a turn.
Sure. Hi, I'm Aviva. I use she and they pronouns. I moved here even more recently. I've only been in Great Barrington for about 2 months. And I will say that the only reason that I'm in Great Barrington and not anywhere else is because it's the only place that I really saw any listings. I had somewhat of a similar experience to Michelle in that I looked on like real estate listings looking for places to rent, and there wasn't much available kind of anywhere in like a 30-40 minute radius around Tyringham, around Woven Roots. And I like a lot of where I saw things were Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. And there are like housing Facebook groups. There's one for specifically Berkshire County that I found potentially helpful. And then there was one for like queer housing Western Massachusetts, which I was really excited about. But then it turned out that basically everything listed in there was for the Valley, which is too far away. It seems like, I don't know if it's more affordable there, but it seems like there are a lot more people who are young and queer and potentially also farming in that area. Whereas out here, it is definitely harder to find places to live and people to be in community with, at least people who are in a similar situation. I really lucked out in that I was combing Craigslist and came across an ad that I thought was perfect for me. And I've ended up living with that person. And it's a great situation and a great location, but it was competitive. Like, she had a number of other people trying to live here, and it just so happened that what I wanted out of a housing situation was similar to what she wanted. But that was also able to happen because the landlord let her look for a roommate rather than throwing someone random in. And a lot of the other listings that I found, not that there were that many, were like 3-bedroom apartment for this much money. And I was like, I don't know anyone here, and I don't know how to find people to live with. And that's what I thought the queer housing page would be good for, but no one was living out here. So it was definitely a little disheartening at first trying to find somewhere, until I found that there were actually places listed in Great Barrington, but I didn't really see anything else in the surrounding areas.
So is it worse in the Berkshires? I don't know what your experience is, but is it worse here than working on other farms? And two questions. How, will you be able to stay here for more than a year, given that half your salary goes to paying rent? How feasible is that, over time?
I'll jump on this first, if that's okay, Michelle.
Sure.
I will say that the other 3 farms that I've worked on, some of which were woofing, but the other places I've worked have provided housing on the farm.
Yep.
So I'm not sure I can't really speak to that, I guess. But I will say that the fact of the price of rent and general price of living here is part of what's making me question whether or not I want to stay.
Right.
Or if I'll be able to stay more than a year.
Which is a real loss for this
Yeah.
community if people can't stay. Absolutely.
I'm not really sure about the meaning of the first question. I'm gonna answer in what I think you meant. I consider Woven Ridge Farm to be like a very good farm. like I feel very honored to work there, and
Sure.
is like the farm that like so far, and like my past 4 years of like farming experience, like I feel like really like embodies like what I look for in a farm. So like to that question, like yeah, this farm is good in the Berkshires. And similar to Aviva, yeah, I find the lack of community to be alienating living here. And I feel, yeah, drawn to just seek somewhere out like more diverse. Like even like Northampton would be like, I think a better fit, like that kind of feel. Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I don't have financial obligations. Like I don't have loans. I'm like all my income goes towards like living, like rent is my biggest expense. So like I can like feasibly live here, but like do I want to be spending half my paycheck on rent? No.
Sure.
And to go back on your search, because Viva, it was Tennessee originally you came from right before this. When you were searching within the radius, did Stockbridge come up at all? Did it even cross your face at any point on Facebook? When Michelle too, or Craigslist, or was it mostly Great Barrington, larger towns like Pittsfield? Did Stockbridge even like, was it even on the radar?
No.
I think that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I would say like I found something in like North Adams that would have been possible, but like it was too far.
I think that it was on my radar because Matt, you gave me a list of places to look.
That's fair.
But I don't remember seeing very much. Like the places that, I mean, the search was a while ago now, so I'm not positive, but I remember seeing things in Pittsfield. I think I remember seeing things in Lee or Lenox, but not very many. And then I saw some things in Great Barrington, mostly like the, I think, newer apartment complexes. But I don't, yeah. It was pretty sparse overall.
Do you have suggestions for us? A way we can help?
I wish I did.
We did too.
Because I don't know how to make housing more accessible. Like there's the issue of finding roommates, which I think is potentially solvable if there's a way for people to connect.
Yep.
But I don't know about how to have there be more housing unless a lot of that housing is being taken up by places that are being Airbnb'd or rented like that.
So one more question, because the farms I'm familiar with like you said, have housing right on the farms. So does that raise the price of what the vegetables are sold? Is it different? I mean, does the owner of the farm have to make up for that cost somewhere?
Well, and I'll let Michelle and Aviva talk to their experiences when on other farms, but from what when we look into housing, it's partially zoning, because we can't build a structure without a certain amount of footage, and each town is a different zoning. So it's about building a structure to code, unless you've converted a hen house into a little like cabin for the summer, 3-season cabin. So it's space zoning.
Sewage.
Was that
Sewage.
sewage? And I mean, to have your own space, I feel like a lot of farmers take advantage of, well, potentially could take advantage of labor if they're there on the farm all the time. So you kind of want to make sure you're respecting boundaries.
Yeah.
So that you're like, okay, here, after 6 o'clock,
You're done.
you're done. You don't have to come and shoo away the deer in the middle of the night, you know? But it also can then lead to internships. So instead of getting paid, you might get a stipend because you also have housing, you know? So some people play it that way where like, okay, we're gonna give you free housing, you can have as much food, but we're not gonna pay you a full salary. So we've focused on trying to raise our salaries as much as possible to make up for not having housing.
Got it.
Obviously, that's something we're getting there. That's definitely on the bucket list of something we want to provide.
Yeah.
So Michelle and Aviva, when you worked on a farm where you were provided housing, was the salary reduced in proportionally or?
When I was living in Tennessee, I was an intern. So, like Matt was saying, I was provided room and board, which was awesome, but I got like $400 a month. And I didn't need much because most of my needs were being taken care of, but it was a very different situation. And I think part of what I really respect about Woven Roots is that they've worked so hard to pay their workers a decent wage. And so I think that type of situation, whether it's an internship or whether you're having your workers make less money or like pay you for housing, I think that's more common. So the prices of the produce aren't that affected by that piece of it.
What would you prefer? Would you rather live on a farm or would you rather be able to live someplace away from the farm, assuming that there was someplace available that was affordable?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Michelle, what do you think?
I've never lived on a farm that also wasn't paying me. Like I have lived on a farm as an intern without pay. Like, and I think, and that was definitely because I couldn't afford to pay. So I just feel like, I mean, I'm sure there are farms out there where they can pay a living wage and have you live on the farm, but I honestly haven't found that to be the case very much. I would prefer to live off the farm if I was working on a farm.
Okay. And how, so you're here seasonally for just a part of the year?
Right, we were hired seasonally.
So would you also, where do you go, what do you do when you're not here?
Good question. Over the winter, I found like temporary employment in Great Barrington. And I expect if I was to stay here, I would have to do that again during the farming off season. So yeah.
I haven't had to do that yet because the farm I was on last year, I stayed over the winter. But when I found housing, I negotiated for a 10-month lease, anticipating that I'll have to find hourly work over the winter. That being said, every place in Great Barrington is hiring because people who make that wage can't afford to live here.
Right.
Which is a larger problem than just farmhands, I suppose.
For sure. But so then if you could make a year-round living, find housing that was year-round, and obviously affordable, we can assume is desirable. But if you could live here year-round, work on the farm during farming season and then do something else on the off, in the winter. Would that be, would you want that? To just actually settle into the area?
I think, yes. I feel like, more ideally, I would prefer to be hired year round on a farm if I was working at that farm. But, if I was really wanting to stay at that farm, then I would find some other employment over the winter.
Thanks.
I appreciate you,
Yeah.
bringing the human element. I'm aware of the problem, but seeing faces and hearing your stories, has an impact. I don't have a solution either.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
of
this
course.
is really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you for showing up and sharing your stories. For the record, I did not pay them to say all those nice things about the farm,
Yeah.
I swear. But thank you so much for coming after a long day in the hot sun. And I'll see you first thing in the morning.
Thanks, Matt. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you been able to find any data on, how many people there are who need farm housing, or if any of them are actually families rather than just, young single people?
Well, I think I haven't found any hard data on the Berkshires. Maybe someone might have some information for us. I'm trying to think of like Berkshire grown or someone.
Or, even trying to think of things like, free vegetables for your family if you can provide housing for the summer for, a way of.
Right, like a barter, or like a CSA. If you're
Yeah.
housing someone, you get a free CSA. And I think Michelle pointed that kind of out where when they were in Connecticut, it was a family friend
Right.
who had a spare room or had it that they got in touch with.
But maybe through Berkshire Grown to kind of get those incentives out for next year.
And that's kind of what I envision of almost like if we're gathering people in town who have a spare room,
Yep.
are willing to offer it up and just sort of being like the connection point and let everyone else figure it out and coordinate it. Because I think, obviously we're the Stockbridge Commission. We're not the Great Barrington, we're not Pittsfield. And I know they have a lot more housing possibilities, but I also do feel like there are underutilized potential rooms around here. Like Michelle living in an Airbnb until they showed up.
Or you had mentioned maybe Simon's Rock, there may be places that we can.
That are willing to do something.
Something.
Yeah, someplace local that has, well, any college that has, dorm space, but that isn't necessarily so close.
Right. I think too, if you extrapolate how many farms we have here in the Berkshires, and they're all, except for the biggest of us, I think on the USDA, a small farm is 200 acres. So how many 2-acre farms do we have around here right now? So everything under that is a micro farm. But I feel like those micro farms are kind of the ones that are in our community. If you have the flower farm in Stockbridge or adjacent to. Any other thoughts we have?
I'm wondering if Will from Green Acres would have thoughts too.
And I feel like they do some housing down in Sheffield. They have some farm crew, they have trail crews, and I think they used to have some
So he may just be a good resource.
He might be good, yeah,
And actually, now that they have their own place, they may even,
have some housing.
yeah.
Yeah. And I want to make sure too, it's like maybe, it's just, maybe it's important that we have a list of farmers that are in Stockbridge who are looking, or they know that they have a crew looking for housing at, and usually that happens around February.
Yeah.
That's when people are making their decisions, where they're going to move, when they're going to move. And then we have on the other side, Stockbridge residents who are willing, have a space that they're willing to talk about it with the farmer.
Right.
And I don't want to get into a situation where we're like the leasees, the tenant, like we're not managing that. We're just putting the two into conversation and
Yeah.
they can figure it out. But at least that list could go up so
Right.
that be like, hey, I'll house someone from X farm, or, I'm looking for 2 rooms for 2 employees that said they're coming up. Because to be honest, and I really wanted, them to come because they were our first very long distance, employees or employee hires. Before that, most of our hires had been pretty much within Berkshire County for the most part. But, each year we've been getting more and more people from, far off places applying and finding us through the internet. And especially that we wanted to try to make it work for them so they could come here, and they really did a lot of work on their end to get here. So I want to honor their contribution to this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. See, we lost Abigail.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hearing nothing else about that, currently, we move on to update about the warrant. I'm under the impression that it passed
Yes.
at the town meeting. And it sounds like potentially Thursday.
Look, I thought it was on the agenda for Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, it is on the agenda. It's a little confusing because they say select board coverage of other committees and commissions, which I think means who on the select board is going to be the representative to the commission. But then they also have appointments, boards, commissions, and committees. So I think it's just the annual, officially appointing the people who are.
Gotcha.
So does it make sense for you and Abby to actually tell the select board that you want to be on this? You want to be a regular? Do they know that? I mean, they probably know for you. I don't know if they know for her, but it might make sense to just send Patrick a note saying,
Yeah,
please appoint me.
that's a good idea. And I plan to attend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I actually did, I'm having a hard time remembering our process when we were getting started,
You
whether
have to appoint us.
they appointed us, but I remember having the conversation. I don't think I was at that meeting actually when,
There you were.
was I?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad someone
You were
remembers.
there, Eric.
Oh, okay.
You were there when we were appointed, right? Because we all said something.
Yeah, oh, okay. Oh, okay. So we'll make sure that you're there. And then I know there was a document you had to come in and sign at the town hall.
So we should make sure Abby knows to either be there or send a note to tell him she wants to be appointed.
Oh, and on that note too, Eric, you're all set. I let them know that you want to be reappointed. So I think that must be at this next meeting to
Oh, so do I have to say too?
No, I think based on, we're all on different times. Yeah,
It's staggered. And
Yeah.
I had the 1-year appointment.
I had the one, okay.
Eric had the 1, I had the 2, and I think that must mean you had 3.
I was never told.
So I'm glad we know. Yeah,
I'd forgotten that they were staggered.
yeah, so, okay, so we'll look to that on Thursday. Look forward to that on Thursday. Hearing nothing else about the warrants. One update that just came into my email is that Ken did get in touch and set up a game plan with the owners of the driveway for tomorrow. And it seems like it's just, they're gonna talk more tomorrow. Okay. So, my thought with this next, part of the discussion for today, is I'm thinking, please tell me if anyone has any objections to this, that we'll take a, summer break here for, I was thinking for a couple months. Unless there is a emergency where we need to come back together.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, but I do,
Yeah.
it segues into Tree City. I really do want to get that information from the tree warden. I don't know if you have an update.
Right, so.
I don't want to wait till September to get.
Oh, no, yeah, so, that being said, so that, putting that, well, we can talk about that now. Because I shot him an email and haven't heard back from him yet, but I feel like that is something we can gather that information and have it ready to go when we meet again. Because I sent him what you had said, the number of trees cut down, what we had planted, and if there was any treatments.
Well, my understanding from when Michael was here, I mean, one of the requirements is a report if it's required by the state.
Gotcha.
And I thought when Michael was here, he said it was required.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, as a resident of the town, I want to see it. I
Right.
really am interested in what they're
Right.
doing. So if we're not meeting,
Well, that, I think I can put, maybe I can put that on my list if I call Michael tomorrow. Get that report, because also I'm wondering if that report might come more with the end of the fiscal year. It should be in the town.
In the town.
Okay.
I mean, all the other commissions.
Okay.
People had a report, and that's usually where it is.
Okay,
I didn't, yeah, I don't remember if there was
Nothing.
nothing.
There was-
Okay.
okay.
So, yeah, number of trees planted, number of trees removed.
Moved, and then any
I
tree.
mean, and the report is like, it could be 2 sentences. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
huge, But just something. I
Just some,
think what it is an annual work plan.
gotcha. Yeah, so I will ask Michael about that and see when he thinks that will be available.
And will you CC me on it?
And I'll CC you on that. But that's why I wanted to discuss the goals for the rest of the season. So that being part of it is the Tree City application. So I'll discuss that with Michael so we can get the information. And also, so to circle back to farmers markets, I think, I have not heard about it on any discussion at the select board level. I'm thinking that, and we're behind the 8 ball for this year.
Right.
That being said, I think we start the process of saying we'd like to hire someone going into next year to plan and start planning a farmer's market to begin right in the spring.
So who's we?
So I'm thinking the town has to deal with hiring, but we can recommend.
Because I would think, similar to the hiring a conservation agent, that it has to go to the annual meeting, I would think, if they're going to hire a position. Do you know, Eric? I know, we had to bring the hiring of the Conservation Commission. It was recommended by the Conservation Commission that we hire an agent, but it had to go to town meeting.
Gotcha.
Approved.
Yeah, you would need to get that approved at town meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but if we get the wheels going for the next town meeting, have a recommendation and at least be ready to go. Because even if the farmer's market, I feel like could happen almost congruently, is that, we get all the balls rolling and then someone can step into that position and take it from there. And I think what we should do is probably have a meeting with, a joint meeting with the select board and just discuss it. And see what their thoughts are, because I feel like I can see it already going by very quickly this year. And then we'll, if we're not ready
Yep.
to put it on the town agenda for next season, and from what we had talked about when we had Jordan Archie here, in my impression, it was the move would be to, and Michael seemed to be somewhat on board of this, having it on the town hall property here, due to having the gymnasium for inclement weather. It is a shelter. It has public bathrooms, parking, access to potentially the B bus. It's right on Route 7. The other thing is the timing. If I felt like there was from that meeting, I like the idea of like supporting people coming home from work at the end of the day. I didn't want to compete with the Saturday, Sunday crowd, and to truly help the people of Stockbridge so that it's not super overrun like a Thursday night market. So that being said, I'd like to put that on maybe a select board and try to have a co-meeting with them at some point, and really hash out the details. And then we can be involved with the recommendations.
Yeah.
So I'll just add that to my laundry list for Michael. So then we talked about Tree City.
There's just one more
Oh, yeah.
thing is, we need the select board to do a proclamation,
Okay.
which I can get the wording from Tree City USA. Basically, it's a sentence or two that they would say at a select board meeting, just say the town of Stockbridge recognizes Arbor Day. It doesn't have to be on Arbor Day, the day, it can be any day.
Gotcha.
We need to show that they said it in a meeting
And before the app,
before December 31st.
before December 31st.
So
Okay.
I'll get the wording
Okay.
to you if you can get it to them. It's not,
Okay.
it's pretty simple, but
Got it.
it's one of their requirements.
Got it.
Everything else I was able to get
Yeah.
from the annual report.
Okay.
But I wasn't sure, you're down as the tree board chair. Do you want to be the contact for Arbor Day Foundation or for Tree City? Do you want me to be the contact? Doesn't matter to me.
You are doing a lot of the legwork. Yeah. I appreciate that help.
No, that's fine. I didn't want to take it if you wanted to.
Oh, no,
It's not-
please.
it's no big deal.
Any help is much appreciated. Okay. With that, farmer's market, Ice Glen monitoring, this goes into, this week, but also beyond. I think, especially with the properties around Ice Glen, it's just making sure that we aren't seeing any adverse repercussions of our treatment. So just making sure that Ken stays on it, is looking, and I know there's a lot of moving parts, but it's also to see how's it going. And I think at some point it would make sense to do an updated report down the line here to make sure the treatment actually had an effect.
For Ken to do it?
For Ken to do an updated report and see how the trees are doing. And that might be a need to talk to him about, see what timing, because obviously it's going to take a minute for the treatment to take effect. And then we're going to have to give the time for the trees to respond to it. I don't anticipate a medium.
When we would see if it would be next year or the fall or?
Yeah, and I think that's something we just have to talk about and set up a time to do a reevaluation of the trees.
And I have not done this, but it's important for all of us to keep looking at alternative treatments.
Right, right.
We can hopefully not have to spend so much money.
I think in that realm, I'm going to ask or at least see if the David Orwig, who I talked to way at the beginning of this process, I actually got him to take my phone call, who he's a researcher at the Harvard Forest, who wrote, I think one or if not two books about the woolly adelgid. if he would be up to come to a meeting and talk to us about alternatives. He had thoughts
Great.
and stuff. So hopefully he would be on board for that and maybe do that in the fall.
Great.
Oh, Abby, the select board at Thursday's this coming Thursday, 6:30, is when they're going to make the appointments for the commissions. So I'm going to show up. If you can, that'd be great. But if not, then before then, you should send an email to Patrick White telling him that you want to be appointed.
Okay, great. I can be there and I'll send them an email.
Super.
Great.
Okay. Okay. Finally, this is kind of a another overarching topic.
Okay.
Just, just piling on today, I know. But I think, at some point I have been getting the feeling that there needs to be some kind of consensus on what way we want to see the forests, the path they want to take. And I think this comes up with the treatment of Ice Glen, the forest in general, other public properties, logging, like what is our land ethic in a way, and kind of have a discussion around that at some point. But it doesn't, it doesn't have to happen all at once.
Yeah, no, I was really happy to see that. I wasn't at on the agenda. I wasn't at the select board meeting, but I read the minutes and I saw there was logging on
Right.
some town property for wildlife management.
And
I took detailed notes.
Shelby took notes of it.
So
And-
let me tell you, because it really bothered me.
Yeah.
For one thing, well, there's a forest management, this was Michael Buffoni, did a report to the select board, and this was on May 19th at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
meeting. So a forest management plan is being developed. It's funded by a DCR grant. We should make sure that we get the plan when it's done. If there's a current plan, we should get that. Field work has been done for this management plan and it's being written. It has to be in by the end of July. So we shouldn't have to wait very long. It's mainly a watershed management plan for the reservoir. So they have been doing logging operations of 370 acres in the watershed for a long time. They've been trying to sell 30 to 40 acres of poplar for 3 years, and somebody is finally interested in buying it. So I guess that means they're going to start cutting it. But they do he said, they do a 30% cut every year for timber stand improvement. So trees don't just die and fall down. It's not about the money. And then they take out marketable wood, firewood, and they plant 300 to 500 seedlings of hardwoods every year.
So in terms of carbon sequestration.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, this may be old, an old sort of traditional method, but it is seriously disturbing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I would really want to hear some expert explain why a watershed is in some way better off for the water having this kind of process going. Why it's bad to have trees lie down and die and decompose. It just, honestly, it's crazy to me.
Well, 30% a year, every year, what are they left with?
Well, I'm assuming that it sounds like from what they're saying, they couldn't sell it for 3 years though, so they didn't have a cut at that point.
That's just about poplar.
Right.
Because they it's not clear cutting. They do, the forester, goes out and marks things. They pick a spot to log. The forester marks a stand. He prepares a cutting plan. He marks tributaries, stream crossings and whatnot. The plan goes to Tom Ryan at DCR. He inspects it. He approves it. They put out a bid, and whichever logger is going to pay them the most gets the job. And I just think
How many acres are there?
370. So to me, this is where like a farm, I mean, I feel like we should say, I mean, of course, we need to have the forester and Michael Buffoni come and talk to us. But to me, the issues are really serious here. And and this is where, the philosophy, I mean, I feel like we should say all of our forests should be managed for ecological diversity, ecological health, biodiversity, and climate change mitigation. I mean, that's it. Like, those are our priorities. That's what it's all about. And I cannot imagine how those goals would in any way lessen the health of a watershed.
I'm in agreement, and I would also, I mean, I would love to see it. I think I had asked when I came a long time ago if we could actually see it.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
It's, it's one thing to hear about it, but to see it, makes a difference. And if we could ask for a certain section to just be left alone, why does the whole thing have to be subjected to this? If there's a certain area that they can just let be, and nature does a whole lot better at this than we do. But I'd like to have them come and talk to us.
I think, and to your point too, I feel like this has been going on for a very long time. And this has been the quote ritual for the properties. And I think this is why I put this on there, is to start the conversation of rethinking some of these. I'm hesitant to jump into this one process right here because it seems like it is like at the 11th hour, and I don't want to be like, put up the roadblock. But I think now, like, to transition over to start thinking about it, like, for future events on these properties, what is the cost of keeping it and not being logged? How much are we gaining from the logging? Like you said, it's not about the money. So is there something else we can benefit from it in a way that offsets it? Whether, carbon sequestration, is there someone willing to pay for carbon credits? You know what I mean? Like, is that a possibility? Will some business up in Pittsfield have that capability, or abroad, of keeping our forests intact? But I also want to, maybe we can get Tom Ryan in here from DCR. I've talked to him a few times to see if there is anything that we don't know about the property, because I haven't walked it. I don't think anyone has walked it here. To just get in and start talking about that, what they're seeing in the forest, because I know DCR is all over the place with managing it.
I agree to not stop this one if it's approved, but two things. One, what's the difference between a commission and a committee? And do we have any authority? I have no idea if we have any authority.
I don't think we have any, we don't have any. So maybe we can't enforce laws or make laws, or
maybe in an advisory capacity, if we can ask the select board to, when these projects come up, because we don't know about it, we just learned about it. If they can, or if they know they're coming up, if they can ask that people come and talk to us, some input that we could give to the select board about the projects. And see them. I mean, it makes a difference to see it.
Well, and I think we're doing two things. Well, we're doing one thing already. By increasing our number, I think, we can do site visits more easily. Because there is a lot of land that it is hard to understand what is happening at it, especially if we walk into a situation where we have a quorum, and I don't want to disrespect that in any way. So we're doing that to see more, but also then I think that's another thing you just brought up that we should be doing is, as we are kind of more respected, quote unquote, as a solid commission, having the ability, for people to come to us or see us as like a entity to come to propose their projects, and the select board to come, be like, hey, take a look at this. Is there anything we don't know about it that we should know? And then we just offer our thoughts.
Well, and if a few things. One, similar to what Shelby said, if we can articulate our own philosophy And to have be a kind, and I don't know, I don't know what your philosophy is, Eric, or Adam, I don't know. That would be something we would need to figure out, to kind of advise us on these properties. In terms of a quorum, I mean, as long as you advertise that you're going out, don't make any decisions, you're just looking.
Right.
That's fine. You can.
No, if we have a quorum, if we post it as a meeting,
You post it as a site visit,
but we can post the site visit as a meeting.
yeah.
And then we can do anything we do in a regular meeting. And it doesn't have to be a hybrid. If anybody really wants to come, they can
Okay.
come.
Wait, but accessibility though?
We went through this at the town meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
There was a citizen's petition, it's not binding, to require all town meetings to be hybrid.
Right.
And I proposed an amendment, which was passed, that said that the exception being site visits at which there is a quorum and deliberations made.
Oh, really?
So that if a site visit actually basically is a meeting, and it was posted like any other meeting, then people can come and attend in person.
Gotcha.
And that's fine.
So,
And it's not binding anyway, honestly.
gotcha. So then there would still be minutes for that meeting, still be posted? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Just wouldn't be recorded, but we'd have minutes.
Gotcha.
I think it's really great idea to find out what our authority is, because I know that, like, my wife is the chair of the cemetery commission, and it's very clear their role is to set policy.
Gotcha.
And then the town employees carry it out. But they set the fees, the management practices, in various things, so I think if we can find out, like, is our authority to set policy, then our town forest philosophy can actually be a town forest policy, that these are the priorities and goals or whatever.
My impression, and Eric, I think, can add to this, and because I'm just looking at what our little blurb is, section 1. And I'll just read this out. There shall be an agricultural and forest commission which shall, as appropriate, advise town boards and officials regarding initiatives and strategies to support commercial agriculture and other farming and forestry activities, to encourage the pursuit of agriculture and forestry, to promote agriculture or forestry-based economic opportunities, to work for the preservation of agriculture and forest lands, and to pursue the creation of a sustainable agricultural forestry community in the town. So I take that word advise as like, we can't set the policy, but we can advise on the select board deliberating to make a policy change.
So, and at this point, we're not doing that, so it'd be good to ask the select board to give us, send people to us so we know what's going on, and then we can advise the select board what we think once we have a philosophy.
Right, and
And then, so Thursday, when we're there getting approved, I'll ask about that. And see, if what the select board and Mike, consider the breadth of coverage of the word advise.
It's, in my mind, it differentiates a commission and a committee. Usually a committee is advisory and a commission has some authority, but our mandate there doesn't give us any authority.
Yeah, it's interesting.
anything, we've been talking a lot on the front here. Any thoughts besides that? Besides what we just talked about?
No, not really. The commission is advisory only. That's in the bylaw.
Yeah.
But we can still, I mean, that's still something.
Give us,
that we're not doing right now.
yeah, we got that. I think we gotta take to heart
Yeah.
and do some advising.
Maybe we can, for a future agenda, we can talk about, have a discussion about what our philosophy is. And it may vary from property to property, which is fine.
And it will, yeah, so I think we'll have a discussion on, one of the agendas about philosophy. And I think maybe something I could do, as the chair right now is, when there's town meetings, or not, select board meetings, try to pull things out that might be up our alley so that we can be more aware of it, perusing that, or if anyone sees something, like Shelby brought that up.
But I think I would take it a step further and ask
Right.
the select board to
Right.
inform us so that
Right.
you don't have to be playing a detective.
Exactly.
That it just come to us.
Yeah. So I think that's the ultimate.
We can't advise if we don't know
Right.
what's happening. And maybe invite Tom and or Mike to a future meeting.
Well, and I'm pretty sure Chuck should also be here. So in reality, that is also a link that is being underutilized right now. That being said, so I brought all of that heavy stuff up because I anticipated a kind of summer vacation of sorts for us. I think that's a time to go out, see farms, listen, hear what's going on. If something comes up, if there's an issue with Ice Glen, I will let you know, and if we can schedule a meeting on a Monday night. But I'm anticipating that, knock on wood, that we wouldn't have to meet in July. Is it too much to say July and August? And say we'll start back in September?
I think as long as there's nothing that we really need to stay on top of, together, because we can still, if reports and things can come to us and we can look at them on our own, we can always exchange emails about something that's on our mind.
Well, to be clear about that, no discussion.
Right.
Yes.
It's like, here's this thing to look at.
If there's something to look at, no discussion, but yes.
I'm okay as long as I get the Tree City stuff
And the Tree City stuff,
before. I don't want to come to a September meeting
Right.
having it.
right? It's not September, it's December, it's due in December.
December 31st,
Gotcha.
but there's always kinks.
Oh, yeah.
Just even in submitting it, so I'd like to submit it in September.
So I'm looking at the calendar and actually the first,
Yeah.
of course, it's Labor Day. So how about the end of August? We'll do it a week before that. We'll do it in August 29th. So it'll be the last Monday in August.
Okay, with me.
Be a little, that way it'll be a little shorter.
And we'll have 5 members.
And we'll have 5 members.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything that I forgot about our goals for this year, 2022?
Got a lot done.
I think if we can accomplish those 4, I think those are the big ones right now. Not hearing anything else. I'll make a motion to call this meeting to an end. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Hey,
Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good summer.
Have a good summer vacation.
Have a good wedding.
Yeah.